Welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to be diving into my top 5 best teams for the Great League Remix. Great League Remix set to drop in just a couple of hours at the time of recording this video, so I wanted to get these teams out before the meta dropped to give you guys a little bit of time to have a look at the teams and see which one you like best. So yeah, I got some very solid teams for this meta. For those of you unfamiliar, the Great League Remix always bans the top 20 most used Pokemon at Ace rank and above. So I'm not sure how they come up with it. The ban list for this season is a little bit wacky, but hey, it is what it is. That's what we were presented with. And without further ado, let's dive right in. All right, guys, here we go. Kicking things off, team number 1, a very powerful team here for the Remix Cup. It leads with Mandibuzz on the lead, Vigoroth on the safe swap, and Carbink in the back. So quite a bit of bulk on this team between Mandibuzz and Carbink, and Vigoroth is going to be undoubtedly the best safe swap in the meta overall. You put all that together, that's a recipe for a lot of success here with Team 1. Let's have a look at the scorecard here. And have a look at that. About as good as it gets for a scorecard for any given team. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. You literally don't get much better than that. Let's have a look at these matchups. So Mandibuzz on the lead, going to be quite strong. Very much like Umbreon, very strong in its neutral matchups. You do have to steer clear of any potential Carbinks and Chargebugs, I would say. Those are going to be the two hardest targets for Mandibuzz to try and avoid. Dugong as well might surface as the meta goes on. But as we can see, we do quite all right up against Skarmory. Carbink, I think, is going to be everywhere. And I think Chargebug is actually going to be everywhere as well. So we are going to be safe swapping Vigoroth. Vigoroth performs quite well, especially when shields are up. So in a fresh battle, you safe swap into Vigoroth on any Carbink or Chargebug lead. Anything else is pretty decent for Mandibuzz. Has a solid victory over Dragonair, which I do imagine will be everywhere as well. Why? I don't know in a Skarmory Carbink meta, but people will find a way to run those dragons. But that is a whole nother story as well. We've got Carbink in the back. Mandibuzz all three of these Pokemon very good at shutting down Dragonair. So that is not going to be a concern. Poliwrath I did want to go over. Sort of core breaks the team a little bit. You're going to have to stay in there and get some shields down. If you're seeing a ton of Poliwrath, I think, and you're given Elo, you might actually want to consider running Air Slash as well. But you can stick with the recommended Snarl starting out. But again, if you're seeing an abundance of Poliwrath, I think it might be worth considering Air Slash on Mandibuzz. But yeah, that's a team effort. You have to stay in with Mandibuzz, get off as many aerial aces as you can. Of course, with proper timing, of course. Try and get those shields down, and soft lose lead, come in with Vigoroth and look to play on from there. It takes a team effort. Poliwrath definitely not impossible, especially as a Shadow, as the Shadow has quite a bit less bulk than the non-Shadow. So that's how I would address Poliwrath, and I think everything else in between pretty straightforward here for Team 1. Very strong team overall here. A few obstacles that will take a team effort, most notably Chargebug and Poliwrath, but definitely doable, of course. So that's Team 1. Mandibuzz on the lead, Vigoroth on the safe swap, and Carbink in the back. And with all that said, let's have a look at Team number 2. All right, guys, up next, we've got team number 2, a very strong team here for the Remix Cup. It leads with Gligar on the lead, Dugong and Jellicent in the back. So both Dugong and Jellicent can prove to be very strong safe swaps. You can really safe swap either one. I think generally you'll want to be safe swapping Jellicent. I think that's the safer of the two. But let's have a look at the scorecard, and then we'll dive into the dynamics of the team here. And not bad. Very strong scorecard here for Team 2. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. So very strong scorecard here for Team 2. And Gligar on the lead going to be quite strong. You do want to avoid Skarmory. That is going to be its worst matchup in the entire meta, hands down. But luckily, we've got two Pokemon in the back that can handle Skarmory no problem. So you can just safe swap into your Jellicent safe swap and look to play on from there. Mandibuzz, that's one that you're going to have to stay in there. You can, I think, play out the ones to maximize your damage on the Mandibuzz and soft lose lead in the ones and then look to come in with Dugong. That's how I would play that. As you do have a added layer of Poliwrath coverage in the back with Jelly. That's how I would tackle Mandibuzz. Guzzlord, same deal with Guzzlord. I would play those two the same way. An opposing Gligar, you can go right into Jelly and look to play on from there. Lickitung can be a bit of a handful for this team. It's going to take a team effort, but Gligar puts in the work. I would play out the ones and look to chip away. They may not want to give up a shield on Licky. Most trainers will not. And then look to come in with Dugong and play on from there. So it says that we lose to Poliwrath on the lead here, a narrow loss, but keep in mind what we're looking at here is an amalgamation between the zeros and ones, an average of the zeros and ones. But in the twos, you most certainly beat Poliwrath, no problem. You also beat Carbink as well in the twos, which we always beat. Anything else, I think? Whiscash, you also beat in the twos on a non-shadow. I'm not sure about the shadow. Definitely have a look at that if you want to run this team. But I'm quite confident that you still do fine against the shadow in the twos. But you've got Pokemon in the back that can handle Whiscash. I would just safe swap out of that. That's not worth staying in on, just in case you need to hang on to your Gligar. An opposing Jellicent, that's another one that you'll want to look to soften up a little bit and then immediately go, or not immediately, but eventually, go into Dugong and look to play on from there. A bit of a team effort. But yeah, everything else with this team 2 here, pretty straightforward. Definitely one that I'll definitely give a try and show you guys my approach to playing on the channel here once the meta drops. But yeah, this looks like a fun team and a very strong team overall. Gligar on the lead, Dugong and Jelly in the back. Very powerful team overall. So that's team 2. Let's have a look at team number 3. All right, guys, moving right along into team number 3 here. Another very powerful team here. Very similar to team 2, by the way, but slightly different playstyle here. But we'll go over that in just a sec. But we've got Vig on the lead, Vigoroth, good old Vigoroth, Jellicent on the safe swap, and Gligar in the back. So the two back Pokemon are going to be protecting you from Poliwrath. If you can protect Vig from Poliwrath, it can absolutely cook up against everything else in the entire meta. Let's have a look at this scorecard here. And not bad, very strong scorecard here. We get a B for coverage, B for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. Very strong scorecard here for Team 3. So Vig on the lead going to be quite strong. You have strong neutral play into Pokemon such as Skarmory. That's one that you can actually stay in on a little bit. If they're stubborn, they start shielding. I would say play up to the ones. That's what I would do with Skarm. And if they shield, you can go into Jelly to draw out whatever's hiding in the back. Carbink is going to be not too bad for this team. I think it just outbulks Vigoroth a little bit. But certainly worth chipping a little bit and then dipping into Jellicent. That's how I would play that. Mandibuzz, it says we lose in this average of the zeros and ones, but rest assured you do win the twos with Vigoroth up against Mandibuzz. So you stay in there, you take out Mandibuzz, you can play out the twos. That is perfectly fine to get rid of a Mandibuzz so that your back two Pokemon don't have to deal with it. And of course, if they give you Switch, that's even better. Poliwrath, one of the only Pokemon that we're hard swapping out on in the Jellicent. That's why we've got Gligar and Jelly in the back for Poliwrath on the lead. An opposing Jelly, that's a tricky one. Much more tricky than something like a Poliwrath or even a Skarmory, I would say. You can stay in there because they're doing virtually no damage with their fast move, and just spam those rock slides. You never want to come in and mirror. You never want to be the one mirroring because you will forever be behind on energy, and that is just a recipe for disaster. So stay in there. You can play the ones if you want to get a little bit aggressive and get some damage in on the jelly, and then you can look to come in with Gligar after soft losing lead. And everything else I do believe is pretty straightforward here with Team 3. Another very fun team that I think I'll feature on the channel as well. So that is Vigoroth on the lead, Jellicent on the safe swap, and Gligar in the back. So with all that said, that is Team 3. Let's have a look at Team number 4. All right, guys, here we go. Team number 4, another very fun team here, very strong team for the Great League Remix. It leads with Poliwrath on the lead, and we've got Charjabug and Skarmory in the back. Very much a traditional balanced line with these 3 Pokemon here, but they're all very strong and have tremendous play in the meta. So let's have a look at the scorecard here. And not bad. Very solid overall for Team 4 here. We get an A for coverage, which is the most important metric when evaluating a team, in my humble opinion, on PvPoke. So getting that A for coverage is tremendous. We get a B for bulk, B for safety, and a B for consistency. So very solid scorecard for Team 4. And diving into the matchups here, this team, a traditional balance line. So the safest way to play this line is to either win lead with Poly or soft lose lead with Poly and then look to realign. That's the safest way to play this. If you play it that way, you're going to have more success more often than not. As we can see, we've got tremendous victories between all 3 of these Pokemon here throughout the meta that we see here. So Skarmory, saying that we lose to Skarm on the lead, that's a bit misleading. I think all of us, that have played the Great League for a significant period of time know that that is not true. Poliwrath is definitely a Skarmory answer, and of course that is because we resist that fast move pressure, especially when shields are up. When shields are down or when you're at a shield disadvantage, that can change a little bit, but in an even, fresh matchup, you're going to just fine up against Skarmory, even though you do have a Charjabug in the back. The safer play is to take out that Skarm and then look to realign on whatever they bring in. That's how I would play that. In opposing Poliwrath, yeah, the same deal with all these, with the exception, I would say, of Jellicent and Toxapex. So those 2 are going to be the most challenging because they're just such dominant victories over your own Poliwrath on the lead. That's going to be the most challenging. I would just safe swap Charjabug. Charjabug's going to be the safer of the 2 to safe swap if you have to, and I think the only time you're absolutely going to have to is on a Jellicent or a Toxapex. That's the only time I would recommend doing that. So you just safe swap in the Charjabug and look to play on from there. Charjabug's so strong, it can often flip switch for you if necessary. So that's how I would play either a Jellicent or a Toxapex. Everything else, I think the safest play is just to stay in, either win lead or soft lose lead, and then look to realign. And I think I will feature this team as well, just to show you guys what I mean. But a lot of you out there are pretty seasoned and know what you're doing, so you may not even need that. So that's Team 4 here. Poliwrath lead, Charjabug and Skarm in the back. Looks very strong overall, a traditional balanced line. And with all that said, let's have a look at Team 5. All right, guys, last but certainly not least, we've got Team number 5 here. Oh, my goodness. I know I'm going to be getting some flack in the comments, but I don't care. We've got Steelix in the Remix Cup because I know it deep down inside I can feel it in my bones. It is going to be an abundance of dragons running rampant in this meta, whether it be Dragonair, Dragonite, or Guzzlord. You name it, I'm sure someone will find a way to run it in the Remix, and there is no better answer to a Dragon type than Steelix outside of, let's say a Charmer. But if you don't want to run a boring Charmer and you want to have more play in a given meta, I think Steelix is definitely the next best thing. So we're running it on the lead in preparation for the Dragons. We've got adequate Poliwrath coverage in the back. Vig coverage in the back, any sort of fighter or pseudo fighter, we've got it covered in the back, and that will allow Steelix to absolutely cook. So let's have a look at the scorecard here. And here we go. Very solid, very similar scorecard to Team 4. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and a B for consistency. So very solid Steelix team here. And those of you who are members of my Discord, you will know how much fun and success I've been having over the past few days with Steelix in the Open Great League. Fully exploiting the dragon abuse and absolutely having a blast with it. But yeah, you can definitely bring it to the remix as well. And have tremendous success. You just want to protect it from the fighters and pseudo fighters like Poliwrath and Vigoroth, and that's why we've got Jelly and Mantine in the back. We've got the coverage for those. You can safe swap in the Jellicent, and that is what I would highly recommend. That is much safer than Mantine. You can use that to draw out a Charge-a-Bug. That's how the team is designed. Allows Steelix to come back in and fully farm down the Charge-a-Bug and leave with so much energy on the back end. There are a few things that can run from that type of coverage that Steelix has. We've got solid victories over Carbink, Mandibuzz here, all of the dragons, of course. That is the appeal of Steelix, shutting down dragons like you wouldn't believe. But we've got some key victories over Cresselia, which I do anticipate seeing quite a bit of. We've got a victory over Clodsire, which you would never think you'd have. Also the Mud Boys like Whiscash, Quagsire, you'll want to be getting out of there just the same as you would a Vigoroth or Poliwrath, but everything else, you let Steelix stay in there and cook whatever is not named pseudo fighter, fighter, or mud boy. Everything else in between, Steelix will absolutely destroy. So that is how Team 5 is constructed, and you better believe I'm going to be featuring Team 5. I've just been having so much fun with Steelix, so much fun and so much success. You will absolutely see Steelix featured with Team 5 in the Remix Cup. But that about wraps it up, my friends. That's Team 5, Steelix, Jellicent, and Mantine. And yeah, that about wraps it up. Should be a fun time in the Great League Remix. It's going to be running alongside the Ultra League as well. So if Great League Remix, if you're finding it's not quite for you, you can definitely hop on over into the Open Ultra League as well and have some fun there. But guys, I had a blast. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.